Hi. You might be wondering what else is new. Maybe that's why you clicked on the link. What else is new for me this morning? Existential dread. I don't know if you ever get that, but it's just this overwhelming feeling of dread. Something is amiss. I don't know, maybe because it's Friday the 13th. Maybe I ate something weird last night before sleeping. I don't know. But let's get right into it. It might have something to do with some of the things I've got lined up on the show here today. Unprecedented risk to life on Earth. Scientists call for halt on mirror life microbe research. Experts warn that mirror bacteria constructed from mirror images of molecules found in nature could put humans, animals, and plants at risk of lethal infections. Well, this isn't very good news at all, but it is new, so kudos to me for bringing you something new. Now here we go. The threat we're talking about is unprecedented. Mirror bacteria would likely evade many human, animal, and plant immune system responses, and in each case would cause lethal infections that would spread without check. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. Let's see what else we have in the what else is new category. I think this is fairly new as well, certainly new to me. I hadn't heard of this, and it falls under the category what else is new. Also, oh my god, like things are worse than I thought. Okay. The global threat from the irreversible accumulation of trifluoroacetic acid. TFA is a persistent and mobile substance that has been increasing in concentrations within diverse environmental media, including rain, soils, human serum, plants, plant-based foods, drinking water. Currently, TFA concentrations are orders of magnitude higher than those of other per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS. Due to TFA's extreme persistence and ongoing emissions, concentrations are increasing irreversibly. Irreversibly. It doesn't break down. The stuff never goes away. Let's see what else we have on the show. So that came from Ian at Collapse Aphorisms over on the Blue Sky. So I saw that. Naturally, I was alarmed. I thought, well, that's new. I hadn't heard of those before. I followed the breadcrumbs, and here we are today sharing it with you. Now, should you find any of these topics interesting, go into the description of this video. All of these things that I have listed over here on my Word document are going to be in the show description. So if you want to skip this 20, 30, 40-minute video, whatever it's going to be, just go down there, find the stuff you like, open up your tabs, browse at your leisure, and away you go. If you are staying, thanks, I appreciate that. Always do appreciate more than 22 viewers or 50 or whatever double-digit number it is. And those are some pretty heavy things right off the top. Unprecedented risk to life on Earth and the global threat from irreversible accumulation of trifluoroacetic acid. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, here's a little something to lift the spirits, I hope. This is a rendition of Creep. I'm just going to play a tiny little clip from it, and then we'll have a discussion and maybe play another clip. Okay, here we go.
Sometimes I feel, Lord, that I don't belong here. I got to know, can you tell me, will this life get any easier on me? Get any easier on me? That's all. Anybody wants to know, what are we doing here, Lord?
Who hasn't asked that question? Wow. The version of that song chokes me up every time. I've been listening to it every day for months and months and months. Danielle Ponder performed live at the Edmonton Folk Music Festival, and during that performance, I didn't have tickets on that night, but we were on the hill. We were able to listen in, and just incredible, just moving. And incredible story. Follow the link. Catch her story with this song. It's excellent. What are we doing here? I don't know. I don't know what my purpose is. I hope that this fulfills part of that purpose. I've got kids. That's a purpose. I don't know what else there is out there besides that. Okay, let's take a quick look at the second clip.
Lord, is there a reason for my life? Is there an assignment on my life? That's all. Anybody, Lord, anybody wants to know? Can you tell us? Well, what are we here for? You want to know? You mean something to someone. You've done something for someone. That's all. Wow. All I wanna know. Wow.
I could just play that and listen to that, but we're here to do some business. Okay, is there a reason for this life? We'll see. While we're here, though, and feeling a little bit overwhelmed at things that are going on, came across this article at wondermind.com. Must have come in off the socials. 12 things to keep in mind when everything is on fire. So prune your panic list. Does it really matter? Do I have to be concerned about this right now? Give yourself a good shake. Apparently, a little bit of shaking and stuff. It's good for releasing nervous energy. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Acknowledge what's out of your control. So, yeah, that's good advice. Radical acceptance a go. Also good. Small moves, immediate surroundings to focus on. Lean on your community, your routines, and hope. Good advice. Back to the basics. Remember what you've already been through. Be more intentional. Let yourself feel your feelings. Feel those feelings. Finally, give yourself some grace and some joy. My goodness, I should have played the Danielle clips after this because it's a little quite graceful and joyful, I found. Anyways, find the link. Find 12 things to do when everything is on fire. Speaking of everything on fire, oh my gosh. So we use humor to help us through these things, and up here in Canada, we have universal health care. It's not perfect, and it's certainly not universal. However, it's not as bad as y'all have it down south. Well, that pretty much sums it up. Okay. With the climate constantly changing, people have to adapt, and one way to adapt is to move daytime work in the heat to nighttime work. This article covers the situation around the world a little bit, and I think this little piece is coming from India, where agricultural worker mentions that we are not working at night. The idea of tending to the herd in the dark isn't something she sees as safe or accessible for either her family or other pastoralists in her community. It's less efficient and more dangerous to work outdoors with animals in the dark, and it would require them to overhaul daily lives and traditions. So of course you have to imagine if you're working on the land and you're working very hard and it's a dawn to dusk type of situation, and you also have the cooking and the cleaning and the caring for the children and the hauling of the water and managing of the money and everything else women have to do. Now you'd be expected to do all that plus not sleep and then work through the night, or somehow sleep during the day through the heat. It's a nasty situation. And it's not going to get any better. As we can see, the EU Climate Monitor warns 2024 is certain to be the hottest year on record.
Our planet Earth is facing a red alert. A report released by the Copernicus Climate Change Service shows 2024 being on track to become the hottest year ever recorded. Extraordinarily high temperatures are expected to persist into the first few months of 2025.
And then the next few months of 2025 and the rest of 2025 and 2026, 27, etc., 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 etc. This isn't new. Anybody paying attention? Yeah, we're getting warmer. What is new is that more and more media outlets are being forced to finally report on the fact that we're hitting unprecedented warming levels. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about Luigi. This is an interesting story from this week. Luigi is getting some support from his cellmates, apparently. I found it on the Blue Sky, and here his fellow inmates are yelling out.
If they can hear me right now, to answer yes or no very loud. Does Luigi have television in his single cell?
That's a weird bit of a story. I never heard of anybody doing a live newscast from outside of a jail interacting with the inmates inside that jail. You ever heard or seen anything like that? Kind of weird, kind of interesting. I'm trying to find the weirdest, most interesting things about that Luigi story. There's probably going to be more. We'll see what else we have from my friends at the Climate Emergency Forum, Beyond Emissions Reduction. This is a discussion that Herb Simmons with Climate Emergency Forum had moderated in Baku, Azerbaijan. I'm excerpting a tiny, tiny little bit that deals with net zero. So let's give that a quick listen.
Getting to net zero is necessary but not sufficient. We need net negative because we will need to drain the atmosphere of excess greenhouse gases that we've already emitted and those which we are going to continue emitting. We also need to seriously factor in adaptation, which is a clear topic of this COP. And then I've got concerns that solar radiation management could be used in desperation without more understanding. And we need to have that understanding if we're going to make proper decisions about it.
So if you're paying attention, net zero isn't going to be enough. We need net negative. We need to figure out not only how to eliminate the emissions that are going into the atmosphere, bring those all the way down to zero, but apparently we also have to figure out how do we draw out all that extra carbon that we've been putting in and will continue to put into the atmosphere on purpose or as a result of positive feedback loops, like the melting tundra, for example. Permafrost, forests, oceans that we're now finding out are becoming not sinks but contributors, letting go of all that stored carbon. It is not a good situation. So kudos to the Climate Emergency Forum. You can find them on YouTube, almost 15,000 subs, doing a fantastic job over there, and I hope you're able to watch this entire video that I have linked to in the description. Moving right along. My favorite doomer, one of my favorite doomers online. I must have found this on the Blue Sky or over on that X thing, whatever. There's some people still posting on there. I think Professor Jacobson does from time to time. He's one of the better known doomers. Very well spoken, highly educated, super smart. The guy is like a PhD in math or something, and just a genius of a dude. He is talking about, or he's sharing an article about unprecedented global heat wave hotspots. Shatter climate models kill tens of thousands. From SciTech Daily. Very extensive article, some lovely maps, heat extremes, what's happening with the heat waves. And there's even an interesting little bit here about the 2021 Pacific Northwest heat wave. I don't know if you all can remember 2021. I'm not in the Pacific Northwest. I am roughly here, over in Edmonton. That's roughly where the heat dome was that sat for what seemed like a couple of weeks. Right about here is where Lytton, BC is. Some of you might remember it broke its record, smashed it the next day, obliterated it the following day at over 50 degrees Celsius. And then the town caught fire and burnt to the ground. Like literally, that same day. Up in Edmonton, it was hot. We hit 40 degrees. It was deadly hot. And even at night, 37 degrees, and the sun is down in the middle of summer. Unbelievable. So the heat waves, they're getting more extreme, and we know why. Climate change. Keeping on the theme with Elliot Jacobson, this next little bit, it's from his website, climatecasino.net. So let's check that out. It's titled Saving Everything Else. So I think that this was motivated by, the hopium addicts that are, trying to push ideas that, man, if we just worked harder and we're going to hit that societal tipping point. Someone described it as an anthro shift or something. And when that happens, we're all going to demand better of our governments. We're going to solve climate change and everything's going to work out honky-dory. However, climate change is merely one symptom in a long line of problems, wicked problems. Google that, wicked problems. And Professor Jacobson kind of hits the nail on the head here when he says, there's nothing wrong with talking to other people about climate change, but humans are a cancer, homo ecophagus. And no amount of talking is going to shut down this disease before it ravages every corner of every ecosystem that contains some mineral resource, energy resource, or fertile land that can be exploited to propel further growth. What is homo ecophagus? I should have looked that up earlier. It's a whole book. Okay, so very good. We check that out. Our thanks to Elliot Jacobson for writing that on his blog, climatecasino.net. Moving on to other people that I really admire that are doing excellent work out there in the world. This is a little bit from David Rovics. David Rovics, you might remember from a previous show, I shared a song that he did about the recent murder of United Health CEO in New York City. David wrote a song about that. He's written hundreds, if not thousands of songs. He is a superhuman being, folk musician, singer-songwriter, political activist extraordinaire. Find this guy, support him, help him out. He is, despite all his hard work, probably because of all his hard work, given his politics, he's being singled out in a lot of areas. It's very hard for him to organize, being attacked all the time, and he's telling a story in this podcast of his about how he was chased off of, or how one of his albums mysteriously was deleted and disappeared from Spotify, problems he's having organizing on Facebook, among others. And he's talking about other ways that we can organize if we were to only use them. So let's give a little listen to David. Okay, here's the quote I was looking for.
Alternative means of communication, alternative means of disseminating ideas, and alternative means of publicizing events all exist and have long existed since long before corporations, trolls, and secret police effectively took over the internet. What I wonder is, when are we going to collectively abandon the corporate matrix we find ourselves in and try something radically different? And will this happen before I'm forced to look for another line of work?
That is very interesting. I know that David, besides all the corporate means of organizing, he is doing the underground and the direct means, word of mouth, email, phone calls, posters, handbills, direct connections with people. He's doing all of those things, but still finding it very difficult because all the modern tools that we have, they're controllable, and if your politics are out of line, you just get stifled. The tap gets turned off, and all that effort that one puts into building up social media followings and audiences and supporters, it just all goes in the garbage because any particular platform at any particular time can make a decision that, no, we're not going to support you any further. So I encourage folks strongly to look David Rovics up, follow the link. I'm going to leave a couple of extra links for him, in fact, for different Substacks and podcasts and music and different things. Support this guy. And then tell me that you support him and send him a message saying that you support the work that he does. He is excellent. Okay. Oh, speaking of AI ruining our lives, what else is new? AI agents with more autonomy than chatbots are coming. Some safety experts are worried. There's a really clear path from agents that are good at planning to loss of human control. And then there's a real conflict of interest between making money and protecting the safety of the public. What else is new? certainly not that. And that is like a main pillar of all the problems that we have, easily identifiable, whether it be Ralph Nader, Noam Chomsky, Chris Hedges, any of the other David Rovics. Anyone with a thoughtful mind can determine that those things are conflicting. I'm remembering now a Bible quote that was painted on the side of a grain elevator on the outskirts of the city I'm in right now, Edmonton, that said, What shall it profit a man who gains the whole world and loses his soul? That might be a direct quote, it might be paraphrasing. I remember reading that as a very small child, sort of stuck with me. It's apropos here. Money, the love of it, capitalism, the roots. We're screwed. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, did you want to take a look at that article? That is from Scientific American. I got a link. There's probably lots of other interesting stuff to read about in it. I didn't read the whole thing. I rarely do. A little bit attention deficit. But I have found a lot of really, really cool stuff for you to read. So, you're welcome. Okay, let's go back to my worksheet. Somehow found this from Resilience. I hadn't heard of that publication before, December 12th by Richard Heinberg. I'm familiar with that name, Richard Heinberg. I think he might have came to prominence around the peak oil movement. If you know, tell me in the comments. It helps the engagement thing. Also the like and the subscribing and the sharing and all that stuff. Help me get up over double-digit viewership for our 6th episode of What Else Is New. Okay, what does this have to do with anything? Environmental political collapse accelerates. Dun dun dun. So, things are bad and with increasing speed getting worse. The inability of national governments to forestall climate change could easily have been predicted decades ago. That's because stopping global warming is fundamentally at odds with the underlying growthist agenda of the modern world. Remember, we were just talking about the money thing and the capitalism and whatnot? And most political and business leaders care more about advancing that agenda in the short term than they do about ensuring human survival in the longer term. No kidding. And these things compound upon one another as the climate gets worse and things become more desperate for many of the people in the world that are living in these regions that are heating up and the lands are drying out or they're getting flooded. It's causing political strife. I read briefly, or somebody touched on briefly, that the Arab Spring and the uprising in Syria some 10 or more years ago was also connected with climate change and drought in the region. Maybe some of y'all can comment or drop me a link and we can touch upon that also. The end of organized humanity, Noam Chomsky. I'd mentioned Noam Chomsky. He's one of the brilliant thinkers of our time, very strongly anchored in the left. I've chosen this little clip of his because he kind of gets to the nub of it. Here we go.
Some of it was exposed in the lead article in the New York Times last Sunday. I probably saw it. Fine report by Energy Environment correspondent Carol Davenport. She reviews a long, carefully executed campaign to destroy organized human life on Earth. It's an outrageous comment for which I do not apologize because it is completely accurate. The campaign has been carried out meticulously.
So Mr. Chomsky is agreeing that the conspiracy exists, and now he's going to name them.
For years by the energy system. It's an enormous institutional structure. Consists, of course, of the fossil fuel industries, banks, other financial institutions, substantial part of the legal community, and other centers of private and state power.
These things are systemic. All those things are intertwined over generations, hundreds of years. I can't see how we're going to unravel that mess of control. Then when we think back to the essay that I featured here a few minutes earlier from Professor Elliot Jacobson, who gives a crap about humanity anyways? Look at the damage we've done to the entire planet. We are one species, one little blip, and we're wrecking the whole friggin' place. So maybe we shouldn't put ourselves so high in the order of importance and think about others for a change. Wouldn't that be nice? Speaking of the end of things and things being really dour, Doomer Girl news. One of the world's largest glacier floods triggered in Greenland with a peak discharge rate of 7,200 cubic meters per second, more than twice the flow of Niagara Falls. Holy cow, that's a lot. That's a lot of water. You can find it over at the University of Copenhagen. Read that whole article. They've even got a fun little simulation here, I guess, that shows this lake draining. Glacial lake. And for some scope, Niagara Falls. Awesome, awesome natural wonder of the world for sure. If you've ever been, you're lucky to witness that. I'm just showing it here just in case y'all been living under a rock and you've never seen a picture or a video of the Niagara Falls. There's an idea how much water was coming out of that glacial lake. That's a lot. Okay. Up in Canada, we have a postal strike on. I want to bring you a very interesting little point about this strike and about the working conditions and why these letter carriers and postal workers are fighting for better money, better conditions, better benefits, better everything.
As Canada Post workers remain on strike, a key point of contention in negotiations is their job's physical and mental toll, which they say is getting worse because of climate change. From delivering parcels through scorching heat waves to battling blizzards and deteriorating air quality, postal workers increasingly face extreme weather conditions that strain their bodies. Workers are seeking changes to the carrying weight requirements, snow tires for vehicles, and standards for working in extreme temperatures and weather conditions.
Have you ever heard of climate change being brought up in contract negotiations from a union? I haven't heard that. I think this is genuinely something that's new. So when your friends ask you, hey, what else is new? Say, you know what else is new? I watched this video that talked about striking workers demanding better conditions because of climate change. They'd be like, what? And you'd be like, yeah, totally. I'll send you the link. And then I'm happy because I get an extra viewer, maybe a subscriber. Okay, we're getting down to the end. And at the end, you might have gleaned, I've got a little bit of something from Jim Carrey. Some holiday music is going to take us out here in a second. But first, I just want to get a little bit dark. We're going to talk about the U.S. Navy and American militarism, or militarism in general. They want to use quantum computers. I don't even know what quantum computers is. I think it's some kind of souped up computing thing, and probably in combination with AI. It's not going to be good for people generally, or for the planet, for war games, and much more. I wonder what more they could be. What else could they be planning for? The U.S. Navy has a long wish list of applications for quantum computers, ranging from basic science, understanding corrosion, a fleet's constant enemy, to more intriguing uses like war game simulations. And probably killing people, but that'd be too much right on the nose, so they don't want to actually write out the fact that that's what they're in the business of doing, killing people. My God. And for something a little bit fun, I have not seen this. This is totally new to me. Jim Carrey's greatest performance, Silent Night, punk rock style. Thank you for watching. What else is new? Very much appreciate that. If you have any clips or any tips or anything that you want me to include on the show, look me up, send me an email, drop a DM or a comment, or do whatever you got to do. And yeah, that's it. Thanks. I'm Kelly Green. This is What Else Is New. And this is Jim Carrey taking us out.
Silent night, holy night, all is gone, all is bright. Round your virgin mother return, holy and the better revive. Deep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad, he's gonna kick your ass. Silent night, holy night, all is gone, all is bright. Silent night, silent night, silent night, silent night, silent night, silent. When we're silent, oh, everything can change. Open the door. All is right. Everybody, round your virgin.
Well, that was fun.
My next guests have taken self-loathing.
Creep from Radiohead was about to come up on Conan. That's interesting. Jim Carrey, another fantastic Canadian. And this Canadian wishes you, I don't know, something, whatever. I gotta work on my extra game. Cheers.